Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. I am your host, Coach Karena Calhoun, and I'm your expert life strategist. So excited to have yet again another phenomenal, amazing human on the show today who is going to drop some gems, some jewels, some tips, some strategies. I'm in anticipation and expectation. I can't believe it. I'm just ecstatic. So, Caitlin, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to get on here and have a conversation, share
Yes.
share some goodness with the world.
Yes, ma'am. I love it. I love it. Share some goodness with the world. We're just going to run off of that because that is what it's all about, sharing goodness with the world. I had someone on the show recently who actually went out and looked for goodness intentionally, and
Mm.
that was her business. So I love that you say that because it's so necessary. It is absolutely so necessary in this day and time with so many things that we see going on, whether good, bad, or indifferent. We really absolutely need to see some goodness. So, thank you for bringing that goodness to the show, Caitlin. So, tell us where in the world you are.
I am in Raleigh, North Carolina. And so it is, the weather's turning here. So it's still warm, but not humid, which is always the best time of year.
So, listen, I know for those that can't see that are listening to the podcast, my heart flutters because although I'm in Richmond, Virginia, I am a North Carolina girl, and Raleigh is right up the road from where I'm actually from, which is Fayetteville, North Carolina. And I say that having moved away, Fayetteville, because
Mhm.
it's, those of us that are from there, it all just kind of blurs together.
Yeah.
Fayetteville is
Yeah.
really
And I'm a transplant from Connecticut, so I've been learning. I've been down here 7 years. I'm learning all the ways that you're supposed to say the towns and words, and I love living in North Carolina. It's been wonderful.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So I've got my homegirl on the show today, y'all. So I'm excited about that. So Caitlin, tell us what you've been up to recently these days.
So my business is a visual brand design and web development. So I build WordPress websites and branding and logos for small business owners, entrepreneurs, people that are either getting started or kind of DIY'd it for a bit themselves. You got to get your business going, and then they want that cohesive look, that elevated brand that kind of really helps them stand out from the crowd. And I know that design stuff comes naturally to me, but as I've talked with other entrepreneurs, as I make my way through my own entrepreneurial journey, this is a piece that people do not want to do. And so I love kind of coming in and just taking care of you, like take that one piece off of your plate, because I know that it feels overwhelming because there's millions of colors and ways
Yeah.
and fonts, and it can overwhelm you and keep you stuck if you don't know how to even just, like, if you're a coach with your name, like how does that look consistently throughout all your channels and where you show up.
Mm. You're so right. It can be overwhelming. I talk to a ton of people all the time, and that is really across the board one of the things that, I hear the different aspects of business that can be overwhelming. And a lot of times, when people start businesses, they don't realize you are everything
Mhm.
when you first start. Unless you just got a chunk of money that you
Mhm.
can throw into it off the gate, you are everything from the beginning. And when I say everything, it is absolutely overwhelming. And then you get, you know, one of the things that I talk about a lot is this phenomenon on social media where everybody has an opinion, whether it's
Yeah.
solicited or not.
Yep.
And I've seen people just like absolutely, and I'm going to use slang here, people dragging people because their website was not up to par the way they felt like it should be.
Mhm.
They didn't have you could tell they had a DIY logo, or they had a DIY some type of template, whatever the case may be. And I feel really really bad for the people that are being dragged like that, because if you're just trying, you're trying. But the other flip side of it is, you know, there are people such as yourself that really want to help you get out of that that rut,
Yeah.
because once you get in there, it's like, how can I do anything any better? So talk to us about some of the sentiment that you're getting when you're talking to women or men. So is your audience men or women, or is it both?
It's a mix of both. It's probably about 70% women, but I've helped some wonderful men, or
Okay.
partnerships where it's been a man and a woman, things like
Mhm.
that. So, not exclusive. I tend to sort of just like attract people that are in my world, but they want that trusted voice. And so I am honored that people, then turn around and do trust what I say. I provide as simple a solution as I possibly can. I think that simple design can take you a long way. And so even if you, and there's nothing wrong with DIYing to begin and getting that, like,
But you got to
$25
come up
book
out
or,
of it. Yeah.
right. But you have to know that that's just your getting started, getting the clients, getting whatever income to then keep elevating yourself. Cause you're going to feel much more confident if you
Yeah.
know that if I go to your website, I'm not going to be like, whoa, that's not
Yeah.
what I was expecting to see. And I think there's also part of like a fascinating journey. I'm starting work with a client right now. And, I sent over my sort of like beginning stage questions, and she already has a logo, but now it's going to be kind of, where does the brand go from there? And
Mhm.
to really execute what they want, their mission. And when you come to their website, that it's going to feel professional and they're full of pride of taking care of their customers, and that sort of like subtleness that is sort of, it's always hard to express and like know how it's going to come out of my head, but like that there is just like a way to present yourself. And but these questions that I ask, they're very in my, they're very straightforward, but it gets you thinking, to get you to that next level of, I've gotten started, now where do I go, and who am I serving, all of that kind of stuff. And you can find those kind of questionnaires everywhere on the internet, to even just start on your own, just
Mhm.
start thinking about where you want to take your brand when you're ready to invest in the,
Mhm.
the full branding website build versus the DIY and templates. And I love them. I mean, everything starts with a DIY and a template, and
Mhm.
then you have to, there's nothing wrong with it. I hate that people would drag you for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would see it and I'm like, you started somewhere too. Come
Mm-hmm.
on, let's have that grace. But one thing I really sense from you, Caitlin, is just this an overwhelming feeling of nurturing. So I
Mm-hmm.
can I can really sense that when people do come into your space and you're offering that, I guess you would say, that hand of like that life jacket,
Yes.
because I would imagine some people are, at least I know some of the folks that I've talked to, it's like a sinking feeling of,
Mm-hmm.
I'm really tired of this. I've got to, get out of this. I've got to really do something different. And then when you're there to throw that life jacket, I just sense a real, um, a feeling of nurturing. And so that is absolutely, what people need in this space when they are really transitioning from this DIY to trusting someone that will take what they have and say, okay, now let's move it even further. Let's go deeper in this. And so I do honor you for that, because I've talked to some folks, and I'm just going to be honest here, since this is my show, I can be completely honest. Some of them just feel trashy.
Yeah.
It's like, let me just get this contract, let me get this money, and let me go on about my business. And so I do not feel that from you. So tell us how you actually got started with this. I'm curious to hear about that.
So, I went to school for graphic design. I worked in actually print publications for most of my career. So I got a job at a weekly business journal pretty shortly out of college. And so I was there for 6 years, and then I was 5 years at a magazine here in Raleigh. And so, that taught me a lot of um, for those who might not know, it's not exactly like Devil Wears Prada where there's a huge staff. I would use, in both scenarios, it was at the newspaper, there was 2 designers. At the magazine, there was just me. So in a way, that was almost a little bit like an on-ramp to do this by myself, because while I had a team that did all the other pieces, the design and the start to finish and the organization of my own plate was, for me. So as many stories come, the pandemic hit, and we had my son he turned 1 in May of 2020, so he's 3 now. And so it was just kind of like, we're home more, and the job was going great. But it was just, what do I do next? This felt, it's been 5 years. It was like kind of like that, like perfect storm of like, think about what you're doing in your life. And I stumbled upon this world of people helping like online business. And so I had freelanced once before for about a year, and I was like, I wonder if I could do that again. And so in October of 2020, I quit and I started this. And, it's been almost 2 years of insane growth in both professionally and personally, of just finding my way, DIYing almost everything. I've got my list of things that I want to outsource as I gain momentum, because as an entrepreneur, you're doing it all, and it's a lot. It's a big weight. So that's kind of how I got started. And so a little bit of an accidental entrepreneur of like, let me try this. And now 2 years in, I can't imagine going back.
Yeah. Wow. And so what really stands out to me, Caitlin, is the fact that you have been really invested in this from the beginning. No shade to anyone, again, slang, no shade to anyone that just starts into this or has just started into this, doesn't have much experience. But you actually went to school for it. You actually,
Yeah.
invested time and money into this. And so that, again, I honor you for that. I applaud you for that. And so you bring a level of professionalism, wisdom,
Mhm.
strategy to the table that I think a lot of people may not.
Right.
Um, and specifically that experience,
Mhm.
what people are looking for. um, I would say, coming from the DIY space, it would be, well, it's what I think looks nice. But
Mhm.
then coming from your perspective, it seems like it would be, okay, this is professionally what would really kill it. So I
Yeah.
really absolutely love that. So tell us how we can get in touch with you. Number one, tell us how we can get in touch with you. And then number two, once we do get in touch with you, what does that look like? What are the steps that would be taken?
Perfect. So there's my website is CaitlinHarrisonCreative.com. I do have like a free kind of checklist that I call it a checklist, but it's kind of like 10 things that people don't really think about when it comes to their website. It includes the basics of like only having 2 to 3 fonts, only having 2 to 3 colors, like really, because even just those simple shifts will clean up and just give that it's so subtle, but it's that like 2-degree shift, that's going to take you in a
Mhm.
different direction. And then some of the other techie stuff that I've been learning along the way about accessibility and things that you need to be prepared for. As you get bigger, you don't want the never-ending lawsuits that are out there. Just,
Yeah.
people are just always looking to find a way to make a buck. And I like to protect people as much as I can. And as a solopreneur, I'm learning as I go. If you stay along with me in my sort of like ongoing maintenance packages, I always share all of my knowledge as I get it. But anyway, so you could go on there and go to CaitlinHarrison.com/checklist. And that's where you can download that. If you wanted to start a conversation to work with me, CaitlinHarrison.com, there's a button there that says book a call, but it's also /consult. And we would get on a call. No, there's a 5 to 10 questions to kind of give me a sense of your business before we get on the call. And then we'll just have a chat and I present the various options of how to work with me. And we go from there. But it's always, again, no pressure. I am obsessed with learning other people's businesses and what they do and who they serve. So if I can't help you, I still want to talk to you and hear about your business.
I love that. I love that. Building relationships
Mm-hmm.
is absolutely key as we continue on this entrepreneurial journey. So before we wrap up, Caitlin, answer me this. What do you see with the people that you work with? How does working with you, really getting their branding in sync with what they're wanting to relate to the world, how does this impact an entrepreneur's confidence?
I think that it is the confidence is the key, where there's so many pieces that come after it, where I can help you with the tech and the automations and streamlining how people, like, the calendar booking systems they're not hard to set up, but if you do a couple extra things, you can all that kind of nitty gritty. I can help you with that. But that confidence to show up on a podcast in a networking room, both virtually or in person, and know that when you hand your business card or drop your link, that it's not going to be a site that's broken or, doesn't load correctly, especially, the mobile versus desktop. I could go into all the details, but it's that level of just knowing that you feel more legitimate. Like, again, anybody can be a legitimate business. You don't need, I mean, you need it, but you don't need it. Like, it's a super, it sets you apart. And just meant like your own mindset of that and the roadmap of how to make graphics that match your branding and stuff it's just to know that everything's going to look and feel cohesive. I just think that it's a bit intangible, but at the same time, like, when you have it,
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, Caitlin, thank you so, so very much for stopping by the show
Thank you
and
for
bringing
having
these
me.
gems and jewels. I mean, this was really, really impactful. And so, again, those that are listening, this is not, slander against you or shade or anything like that. If you're doing it DIY, that's perfectly okay. That's fine. And as you are doing that, begin to see how you can transition into getting someone like Caitlin, specifically Caitlin. I mean, she's awesome. She's my
Thank you.
homegirl,
Thank you.
but you know, just see about getting someone on your team that can handle this, to take that off of your plate, because it's so much easier for you to have to deal with less
Yes.
when you have
Yes.
experts dealing with the things that are experts in their field.
Mhm.
So thank you again, Caitlin, for joining us. And
Thank you
folks,
so
this has
much.
been, you're welcome, another great episode of Go Be Great with Coach Karena. I am your host, Coach Karena Calhoun, and I will see you all on the flip side. And don't forget, you will have clickable links in the notes. So when you want to get in touch with Caitlin, she's right at your fingertips. So I will see you all on the flip side. Bye, everybody.